Good morning. Welcome to the weekly devotional video of GCF East Antipolo. Basketball is still a very popular sport here in the Philippines, and it was so popular they found it feasible to organize the first play-for-pay league in the Philippines, and I think even in Asia. So, in April 1975, exactly 46 years ago, they founded and organized the Philippine Basketball Association. And initially, there were a handful of teams like Mariwasano Retaje, the Crispa Redmanizers, I think, the 7-Up Ancolas, the Toyota Comets, and also the Presto Ice Creams, to name a few. And it grew in popularity, and a lot of other commercial teams joined in. Money was not really a problem because it was very successful. So at one point, they were able to hire the services of other players from abroad, particularly from the USA. So the first imports, the notable imports who came in were people like Cisco Oliver, the Byron Snake Jones, and the Black Superman, Billy Ray Bates. Unfortunately, it also became a venue for gambling. And soon, athletes and referees were fixing their games in favor of their opponents to make sure their team lost the game for an undisclosed sum of money. In fact, in one season, some players and referees were banned because of this practice. There were also those who were not directly involved, but they knew that something was going on. Now, if you ask me, these players should have also been punished. Not because they did what is wrong, but for failing to do what is right. You know, they were afraid that they will upset their teammates. They're afraid that they will provoke them or even anger them. So they keep quiet. Very quiet. Now, in his letter to the first century church, James, in chapter 4, verse 17, says, "If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them." You know, our tendency is to think doing wrong is sin, which is 100% correct. However, James is also saying that sin is also doing what is not right. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. You know, there are two kinds of sins identified here. And sometimes they are referred to as the sin of commission and the sin of omission. We all know that it is a sin to lie, but it is also a sin to know the truth and not tell it. In a world filled with evil and darkness, when some people would still try to do something that is wrong, even if they know it is wrong, baka nga makalusot, Christians have the opportunity to shine their light, shine for Christ. That often means we must resist the urge to do nothing. Resist the urge to do nothing. Do not just keep quiet when people are doing evil things in front of you. You know, we don't have to look far. to encounter situations like this. In fact, we see this every day. We see ourselves face to face with situations that require us to do what is right than do nothing at all. When you see your neighbor stealing a plant from other neighbor's garden, you turn to the other direction. Why? Because you pretend not to see what he is doing. Mahirap na. Baka pag-awayan nyo pa. When you see your office mates taking home the supplies from the office, bond paper lang yan, paper clip lang yan, stapler lang yan. Point this out to them in a kind and loving way, or call the attention of a supervisor. Remember, in the long term, you are doing them a favor because they will soon realize the wrong that they are committing. But do it with love and kindness. When you see people mingling with other people, not wearing a mask or a shield, a face shield, and not, really practicing social distancing, call their attention because it is wrong, and it is wrong. One time, at a men's fellowship in the church, in our church, every time we sponsor an event, we serve food, merienda or lunch. And I approached a lady because she was getting food from the serving table, and it looks like the serving she was taking was more than enough for one. And when I approached her and asked her about the food she's taking, she said, kinukuha ko po ito para sa grupo ko sa labas. What is wrong with this? This lady was in the men's fellowship room, men's fellowship event. And when you say men's fellowship, there should not be any women. So I called her attention, and actually she did not resist. But I let her go with the food because nakakahiya naman. But the important thing there is, if you know what is right, don't keep quiet. Call their attention. Edmund Burke, an economist and philosopher from Ireland, he said, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. When we are faced with a choice between doing what is right and failing to do anything at all, we must always choose to do what is right. Good day to everyone.